And a very good morning. I'm going to say happy Sunday today because in fact it is a Sunday for me, which is Sunday the 10th of February. This is chapter 4002, Search, Copy and Paste. So to be quite thorough with this, the official Google Earth Studio help gives us this one screen where it says if you want to jump directly to a location, enter it in the search field, and it looks like that. That's all true. But there is so much more to this. And what that means is that if you're planning something, the chances are you're going to have Google Earth Studio open, and also I would say open up Maps, even open up Google Earth Pro, because on the left hand side we've got Google Maps, which I'll demo in a couple of seconds, and we can copy stuff and paste it into Studio and it will jump there straight away. And that's why I'm saying there is so much more to it. So to be thorough again, and that is that if you are copying pasting stuff from Maps, the chances are the link looks like this, Google Maps, sometimes with a place and a name, always followed by some kind of longitude, latitude, and you'll notice that this one down here has an old school, more traditional longitude, latitude, and also if you get a short link it is Google Maps again, and then it will be longitude, latitude. These are things to look at and to manipulate a little bit later for yourself, to be thorough and to get really good at this. By the way, if you do it in the opposite way and you go from Studio, you'll notice that the link that you copy always starts with earth.google/studio, but again always includes the longitude and latitude. If you are using Earth Pro, you are more on the traditional longitude, latitude of north and west, and it looks a little bit like that. So the whole point of it is that we're going to do a little demo here. In my example, I've just taken some mobile screens which I screenshot as I was sitting there planning this last night, and that is merely that we're talking about the mountain area of Wales around Mount Snowdon, and you can see that we're going to start planning an animation, but it gets a bit difficult. Especially when I say difficult, I mean challenging and incredibly exciting, because you're looking up a mountain from maybe your start point in a youth hostel in this example, which is this screen here. How do you get there? Well, you could walk there across the mountains, which makes the animation look, and sound quite wonderful, or you can get in a car and stuff and it takes you nearly half an hour. So the whole point of it is that this video stemmed from something I found in the forum, or answered in the forum, something very, very early from using Google Earth Studio. So essentially it looks like this. So what we can do is we can come down and we can have, he says, I need just to rearrange my screens, talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Right, so on the left hand side we've got a regular Google Maps to demonstrate, and on the right hand side we have got a open version of Google Earth Studio. Notice I'm zoomed right out, and this is what I want to demo, because in Google Maps there isn't any like shortcuts for copy and pasting, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that URL. In other words, there's not, if I go up here and I click the menu, there's not like a file. So in here you have got a paste. Now in theory I could hit paste and that will jump, but I'm not so sure. This is the magical part of it. You'll notice that I'm going to do this again, and I'm just going to copy. I'm going to go over here, and I'm not going to click anywhere. It doesn't matter where I click actually. That'll do. And I'm going to do Control V on my keyboard at this stage. Control V. And you'll notice that something has jumped straight into apparently where I am, which is this area of the Snowdon region. So let me just do it a little bit closer, and this is the copy paste area. So for an example, let's say I went into Snowdonia National Park, and I'm going to get it so you can see that there is a lake there. On this stage I'm going to swap over to satellite, and the tip is that I can go in and let's say I push pin there as an example. There are many ways to do this. At the moment I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit Control V, paste, and you can see that it's pretty much jumped exactly where it should do, and that is wonderful. And if you want to come in and do something, say like this, and you want to click a certain area where we are, I mean, I don't know who Jones E is, but there's the Snowdonia National Park. That, to keep this video super short, and I could go on quite a lot about this, and that is that if you actually start looking at particular areas, there's another way to get back, and that is that if you let's say go out a little bit, and I'm talking about the inverse here, and I don't really mind where I am, but let's say I wanted to, let's put it there, and I wanted to right click, copy the location URL, I can bring up Notepad here, which I'm going to bring in. These are just random tests for me, quite honestly. That's not my address, it's just an address I've been testing, and I can click in, and then you can see that the Earth Studio, so if I copy that link straight back to Maps, it's going to do nothing but open up Earth Studio again. I think that essentially, and I'm just going to maximize this up and just finish this idea with a planning angle, and that is that if you start to look at something, and that is especially where the tools of the job here with this searching and copying and pasting, is I've got an area of the Idwell Cottage, which is the youth hostel where, youth hostels of England and Wales, and Mount Snowdon, and I'm looking at the distance between them. What I've done here on the left-hand side, is I've saved that place as a KMZ file, and then I've imported it into Studio. So, in other words, my planning is threefold, and that is a bit of Google Earth Pro, a bit of Maps, which you've just seen, and also we've got here where I'm going to do overlay, show overlays panel, and this time turn them on. And what I've got here is just a ready reckoner, if you like, of knowing that the area that I'm looking to animate here to find my way around is this beautiful area of Wales. But by putting the simple 2 push pins on, then that simply means that we can actually start to navigate a lot better before we start keyframing all of these things. You can see that there's Mount Snowdon, and if I try to look over to where I am in the next valley over, then I can get there. But you can see how beautiful and exciting it is by going in and saying, right, what is my animation? If I go back to my timeline, which is kind of saved, I start here at the, should we say, the base camp level, and then I try and get over, and it's pretty meaningless because it's an A to B at the moment, and I end up on Snowdon. If you haven't been there, there is a lovely, quite honestly, a railway. So you don't have to walk up it, you can get a railway there and then have a cup of tea at the very top. So the point here is, what can we do as one final other tipper, if you like, and that is quite simply that if we're not sure on things, and this is the planning that Studio does not have, and that is a measure tool. So if we start to go off, and I'm just looking for my area again, at the top here, Llanberis, where are we? Let's say, for an example, you would go right click, measure distance, and then click over and start to get the distances. We don't have that on Studio, so I think that's a story on another day. So if I right click, I can say what's here, and it will jump up a sort of an address and a place. But this is the thing where I was trying to figure out, if I go to Mount Snowdon, look, I've got one in British Columbia, I've got Idwell Cottage, which I can go to, but sometimes this search box although it's bringing the database from the Google Maps, Google Earth database, sometimes it's really difficult to find out, because if I try, I think it's called Mount, say, Snowdon, and then it just comes up as Snowdon, not Mount Snowdon. So only Mount Snowdons are slightly different. You see, that looks Wales, but it's Wisconsin, and it's way off. So my tip here is stick to Maps, then copy it, paste it in Studio, and that should get you going in a nice way. Let's finish with that, because it's really interesting. It's the railway, oh my goodness, look at that. It looks like the train is in its station in Wales. Isn't that the most fantastic thing? When I went there, I got up here, looked to the top, but it was misty as anything. Oh my goodness, look at that. My goodness. I always remember that when I went up there, there was the very, the summit, and there was a guy's flask that was there with a label, and the poor chap had passed away, and his friends and family had come up there and put his thermos flask up the top there. Oh goodness, getting sentimental. So let's go back to where we were, which is this one, and say that was pretty much it, finishing on the search, copying and pasting for this one, which was, what was it, 4002, and then we're going to do a bit of keyboard shortcuts next. So have a lovely Sunday, the 10th of February.